Hello, family. Good evening. Good evening, and thank you for joining me on tonight. I appreciate you hanging out with me. Thanks for hanging out with me on tonight. Hello, Miss Bear. Thanks for hanging out with me. If you don't know me, I like to get my camera angle just right. So I'm just gonna be messing with it for a second because I like to use my hands. I like to feel free, before I get started. So I'm trying to adjust my seat in my chair because of that little light right there in the back of me. I guess we can deal with it so that it won't be a distraction to you or to me. It's distracting me. I'm gonna keep moving my chair over a little bit, but I want to make sure I get that sign in the back. Maybe I should move more to the right. So give me a minute. I'm getting it together. I'm trying to get the right position. So thanks for hanging out with me. Thanks for joining. You could just type your name in. Tell me who you are, where you're coming from. I appreciate you for hanging out with me. I know it's a little late. Could be 11, 12, 1, 2, wherever you are. Thanks for joining me on tonight. We've been talking about, if you've been hanging with me for the past couple of nights, we've been talking about staying in your lane. And what I mean by staying in your lane is having boundaries, undefined lines. And those undefined lines are boundaries that we may or may not tell other people about. We may or may not establish in our relationships. When I say in our relationships, I mean our friendships, our relationships with the opposite sex, our relationships with our families, our relationships with our friends. So there are boundaries that we have to set in every relationship that we have. So tonight I'm talking again about sisterhood. I wanted to move on to something else, but I want us to understand the true meaning of sisterhood and how we got to check ourselves first, okay? We got to do a little soul searching ourselves before we start condemning or talking about other people, what someone else isn't doing. We want to make sure that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing in our relationship with our sisters before we start talking about them and saying what they are not doing. So I'm going to give it another second. I'm going to try not to let that little light bother me. It may, but I need it. So that being said, I'm just going to leave it right there. So, like I said, if you've been hanging out with me for the past couple of nights, we've been talking about these undefined lines, these boundaries that we have in relationships. And how I came about this topic was driving to an area of town where the boundaries or the traffic lines were had been worn down over time, and they had not been reestablished. And so every time I got to this particular intersection, I always noticed that the car to my right, even though we were going the same direction, the car to my right was always a little bit in my lane. It had crossed a boundary that was there, but he could not see it. That boundary was undefined, and he was in my lane, and he caused me a little anxiety. You have to go to Katch.me, Katch.me to see that, but I will get back on that, the issues that come up when we don't have these boundaries, or when people cross these boundaries into our lives, and we either don't let them know, we don't check them, we don't tell them, or we just don't reestablish those boundaries. They cause issues. They cause issues in our lives. So on tonight, we're talking about sisterhood. Remember last night we talked about who are your friends? Who are you hanging with? Why do we as women have an issue being friends with other women? Why is that an issue? I said that I've said myself that I can have a better relationship with men than I can with women. And the truth of the matter is, there's just some things that men cannot help us with. They can't. When growing pains, the coming of a woman into puberty, the coming of a woman into different stages of life, how can a man help you with those things if he's never experienced those things himself? So the fact of the matter is, yes, we may be able to relate in a sense to a man because, one, they're not competition. Let's just be real about that. Men aren't really our competition unless they are men who like men, and then they may be a little bit of competition. You might not see them as that, but they are. So, on the other hand, we'll say, well, I don't get along well with other females. Well, that's a problem. Why don't you get along well with other females? What is it about you, or what is it about them that says we don't get along, or we won't get along? So I've been thinking about this thing all day, okay? Well, not all day, but most of the day, about this chickens, right? We've heard the term chicken head, right? Chicken head is something we've heard before. It was a derogatory term used towards women whose hair looked a certain way. I wouldn't call this a chicken head, but some might. Hey, that's an opinion, but whatever. But the fact that we call someone a chicken head was a derogatory term to describe a female and their appearance, right? So we're going to talk again about sisterhood. I want us to get this sisterhood concept and idea down so that we can cohabitate, we can live cordially throughout life and have healthy relationships with one another. There's no reason why we should not be able to have healthy relationships with one another, because guess what? We need each other. We do need each other, whether you know that or not. We do. So going back to the question, the first question I talked about when I started talking about undefined lines was, who are your friends? What type of friends do you hang around? And this idea of the chickens that I talked about last night. Chickens, after 3 days of being born, they start pecking each other. Okay? They start pecking at each other, trying to determine the pecking order, or they establish a hierarchy within the brood, or the group, or the flock. That's the word I'm looking for. Within the flock, they peck each other to determine the hierarchy in the flock, right? And they do this, the way they determine this is they peck each other to see who's weak and who's going back down. That's one thing they do. The next thing they do to even determine who they will peck, they look at them. They look at the physical appearance of the other chickens. They peck the ones who they feel like the appearance is not up to par. The appearance is weaker. The feathers don't quite flow right. The feathers don't quite fluff right. They use outer appearance as a determination for who they're going to pick. Don't that sound kind of familiar? As women, right? As women, we judge one another by our outer appearances. We do. We judge one another by how someone looks. A woman can look at another woman and say, I don't like her. Why? Even when she doesn't know her, her looks, her outer appearance, without even taking the time to have a conversation to see the heart of the woman, to see the mind of the woman, you would judge her based on her appearance. That's what the term, we hear the term henpecked, and we usually use it towards a male being pecked by a female, but we do that to one another. We peck each other to determine our hierarchy, or in the group or in the flock. We do it because there's an insecurity. Nobody really challenges someone or pecks at someone's outer appearance unless you yourself have a problem within yourself, an insecurity or inadequacy within yourself that will cause you to look at someone else and judge them based on their outer appearance. Now, granted, some women dress a certain way that says, this is who I am. Okay? They do it. But when you judge her on her appearance, are you doing it based solely on the outer appearance? Now, there's a hooker wear, right? There's a hooker attire. Women who work the streets in certain areas wear hooker attire, right? They wear the short skirts. They might wear almost nothing to just say that this is the type of woman I am. But, pardon me, excuse me, my dinner. But, excuse me again. The idea that we would judge each other based on appearances, solely on appearances, says that there's an inadequacy or insecurity within ourselves. Like I said, there's a woman who may dress to attract a certain type of an attention. That's how she's dressing. There are some women who simply just don't know how to dress, right? They never had anyone say, look, baby, that you have a beautiful shape. Or maybe your shape isn't as small or curvy as another woman, but there are clothes that will fit you perfectly, that will complement your body type. We all have a different body type, some similar, but not necessarily the same. But there are clothes that fit our body type. But to judge a woman based on what she's wearing without even knowing her history, do you know whether that's all that she has to wear? Have you offered her in love? Because you can't just go up to somebody and say, look, that outfit ain't right. Let me take you to get another one. She might receive it well. She might not receive it well. There's a way to do it. If you're going to try to tear another woman down, also be able to build her back up in love, where that moment that you tore her down is not as amplified as the moment that you built her back up. She might say, yes, she tore me down, but on the other hand, she showed me how I could dress better, how I can carry myself better. And now I'm using that as a tool to live better in my life, to do things better in my life. Vice take it as a negative comment. And now I'm even more secure about what I have and who I am. So insecurity breeds insecurity. Okay. You're not just picking or pecking at someone because you have all this confidence in yourself and you feel so good about yourself. You might have some self-esteem, but the moment you look at another woman and you degrade her, or you talk about her, or you condemn her without knowing her, that means you yourself got an insecurity somewhere that keeps you from being able to look at her in whatever attire she is and say, you know, that's a beautiful sister. She might be going through something right now, or maybe no one told her how to dress. Instead of looking at the negative, instead of looking at the positive, you immediately point out the obvious in the negative without trying to find out the root, the problem. What is this? Why does she do this? Who is she that she would dress this way, or that her appearance looks like this? Even if she has a bad hairstyle, she has a bad weave, whatever the situation, instead of trying to tear her down, why don't you go to her or compliment her on what she does have going for herself? Why don't you go to her and say, oh my goodness, you have beautiful skin. Or, oh my goodness, I love your eyes. Or you have beautiful eyes. Whatever you can find positive about her to build her up, do it. A person who can do that about someone without trying to tear them down, that you don't even have to know her. Just compliment her. Compliment your sister on whatever. There is something beautiful about all of you. There's something beautiful about all of us. And even if we have to take a moment to search for it, search. Because it only takes a moment for you to look at someone and judge and say, you don't like this about that person. But in the same breath, what don't you like about yourself that makes it so easy for you to point out about that sister what you don't like? I remember one day, I was in my hometown, and my daughter was in the car with me, and we pulled up next to a car, or maybe we was in a car, pulled up next to this car, and there was a female in the car sitting, doing whatever she was doing. And as we was getting out the car, or maybe right before, there was some other little girls walking by, and one little girl hair was just flying all over the place, and my daughter just burst out laughing loud. I was so embarrassed because she judged this little girl according to her appearance. And I stopped her in her tracks. I made her apologize. And I told her, you don't look good every day. How would you feel if someone looked at you and said, I don't like the way she wears her hair, or just laughed in your face? How would that make you feel? That insecurity in you would create an insecurity in her. Insecurity breeds insecurity. So I told her that's not something that you do. You don't ever tear your sister down. I don't care who she is or what she looks like. You find the good in her and you talk and you think and you speak on that. You build her up no matter how low she may look. Your job is to build her up and find that one thing that you see in her that maybe she doesn't see and say, hey, you have a beautiful smile. You have beautiful skin. Something that makes her think to herself, I do? Wow, no one's ever told me that. Or maybe someone's told me, but I've forgotten. That one thing about her that you can look at and build on and make her feel good about herself. That's your job. That's your responsibility as a sister. You might not want to take on that responsibility. And hey, that's okay. But don't expect someone to build you up and lift you up and encourage you when you won't do the same for someone else. If you want accolades, you got to give accolades. If you want genuineness, you got to get genuineness. If you want genuineness, you have to be genuine. Okay? So, I'm going to move on to my next point because I only got a few minutes left here. So the idea, I want to reiterate what I was just talking about. The idea of being chickens, right? Chickens pick and peck at each other within days of meeting each other. Within days of realizing, hey, it's a bunch of us out here. Who gonna be the top dog? Who gonna be number one? They peck. They find things about one another to pick on and to challenge in the other person to establish, I'm number one in this group. The difference between chickens and us is we have the ability to communicate with one another. We have the ability to make choices based on knowledge. We can talk to one another. We can share with one another. Chickens can't really do that, can they? We have the ability to talk at our differences, to encourage one another, to do things that chickens simply just can't do. We're here to help each other. We're here for one another. I need you and you need me. There's something about you that I may have never experienced or I just simply don't know. There's something about me that you haven't experienced or you may not know. So we do need each other. That's the point of sisterhood. Sisterhood is that bond, this solidarity based on experiences, conditions, circumstances, personality traits, our interests, our morals, our religious or personal beliefs. These are things that bind us, but we cannot let insecurities within ourselves tear that thing down. And in a sisterhood, you have loyalty. What does loyalty mean? Got to make sure I get the definition right. An unswerving allegiance. I'm down with you for whatever, whenever. And that's what it's about. Being there for one another when we need each other. Because we do. We simply do need each other. You can't do it by yourself. You can't. It just won't work. If you're a single person and you think that you can live this life by yourself, go ahead and try it. You don't need the electric company. You don't need the car company. You don't need the people who own the building that you may live in. You need somebody. Why not have a group of women that you can trust, that can trust you, and build on that? So next, we're going to move on and we're going to talk about maybe when we're in these groups. Okay, let me go back one more thing. I'm sorry. This group of chickens who henpeck, right? It's our friends. These friends who we set ourselves up with. These friends who we're with, we hang out with. And remember, we choose our friends, right? We choose our friends. And remember, I was saying birds of a feather flock together, or either birds of a feather fly together. You either going to flock, which you're on the ground level, or you're going to fly, which you're above everything and you see from a different perspective. So you're either going to flock or you fly. Well, perhaps you are in a group of chickens and you feel like you're an eagle but you just don't know it yet. How do you know? If you're in a group of people, you're around a group of people, and they're always putting people down, they're gossiping, always about somebody, always got a negative story about someone. There's always conflict, there's always negative things happening within this group, right? So if you're in that group of people, but you're uncomfortable with it, you're just there because you want to be accepted by someone, then you may be an eagle hanging out with chickens. Now, the good thing is you have the ability to fly at any time. You just don't know it because you're used to this. You don't know that you are a eagle or an eagle. You just haven't realized that about yourself because this group accepted you. And maybe you haven't been around other eagles, right? You don't want to be the oddball. You probably are, because when things like this happen, you're so uncomfortable and you fight within yourself saying, oh my God, I can't believe they say that. But you will laugh, you will go along with it. But deep inside, you're having a conflict within yourself because you know this is not something that you want to be a part of. Growing up, there's a cartoon called Tom and Jerry. And on one episode, there was a duck who was, Jerry had found this duck that hatched. And he was always, or maybe it was Tom, was always saying, are you my mother? Are you my mommy? And so he was following the Tom or Jerry, whichever one, all around saying, are you my mommy? He was trying to act like him, do everything like him because he did not know who he was. This little duck was following a cat because he did not know who he was. And the cat was trying to show him things that ducks do, but he didn't see another duck that looked like him. He showed him a fake one. He put him in a pond. He showed him some things that ducks do. But because the cat was not a duck, he could not show him how to be a duck. Get it? If you ain't a duck, you can't teach somebody how to be a duck. Okay? So with this duck, this cat trying to teach this duck how to be a duck, at some point he was just exhausted, like, I don't know what to do. And all of a sudden there was a group of birds flying over, and they sounded like this duck. They looked like this other duck, and he was like, hey, I think that's where I belong. And then he took off, started flying with the other ducks, and he felt comfortable in that group because he could look around himself and see, these people look like me. These birds look like me. They sound like me. They act like me. This is where I belong. If you are in a group of people where you're extremely uncomfortable, you just very well may be an eagle hanging out with chickens. You need to find other eagles and try to get with them. You probably just don't know that you're an eagle, but you got to do a little soul searching to figure that out. So that's basically all I wanted to talk about tonight. Hi, Yvonne. How are you? Thanks for joining. I just want to reiterate the fact about sisterhood. We are bound together. It's good to see you. We are bound together by the fact that we have things in common. We as women experience things together. We have experiences that we can share with one another. But if we hang out and we act like chickens, we'll never be able to pull or get from one another what we need, because if we're condemning one another, if it's hard for you to compliment another woman, whether she's cute, whether she's not cute, no matter what the woman looks like, if it is just simply difficult for you to tell a woman how pretty she is, how smart she is, how intelligent she is, how you like her hair, how you like her toes, whatever it is about her, if you have a problem doing that, you need to search yourself, sister. Why? Because you're probably a chicken if it's hard for you to talk, just give somebody a simple compliment. There's some insecurities within you that you probably need to work on. Okay? I make it my business. When I see a beautiful woman, a pretty woman, I tell them. Why? I have no problem. I'm not insecure in that area. Me complimenting her doesn't take anything away from me. There's a lady who worked at a department store that every time I see her, she's like 65, but she looks like she's no more than 55. Not even that. She's beautiful. And every time I see her, I make sure I tell her, you are so beautiful. You are a beautiful woman. Me complimenting her takes nothing from me. Nothing. I love to see other women smile. I love to build my sisters up and make them feel good about this. As just tonight, when I was in service tonight, I sat next to a beautiful woman. I mean, she was gorgeous. And I was like, wow, you are so pretty. I'm not saying it in a way that I'm trying to come on to her. I recognize that this woman is gorgeous, but me saying that to her takes nothing away from me. It doesn't hurt me to say that to her because it's a truth. In my eyes, they say beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. In my eyes, that is a beautiful woman. And I had no problems letting her know how pretty she was and how gorgeous she was as a woman. Youthful, beautiful. I mean, just gorgeous woman. But that takes nothing away from me. Do you see what I'm getting at with this? To be able to compliment your sister is not nothing. It takes nothing away from you. We're not chickens in a brood or in a roost or in a flock trying to pick at each other. Remember, chickens peck at each other based on outer appearance. Simply, that's it. That's what they do. They peck each other to find the pecking order. Remember, that's where that comes from. To find the pecking order based on outer appearance only. That's it. That's the only thing that they use to determine who's going to be number one in the group. They peck each other. We are so much more than chickens. We have the ability to communicate. I'm still talking about undefined lines, but I want to make sure as sisters we understand that it's okay for us to encourage one another, to love each other, and to build each other up. That's a part of what we should be doing. I'm not threatened by the fact that I can tell you that you're smart or recognize the fact that you're smart. I need to be around smart people. I need to be around intelligent people. I need to be around beautiful women that are going somewhere. Even if you don't feel like you're beautiful, there's something beautiful about you. Don't let somebody else's opinion of you determine how you feel about yourself. Look in a mirror and tell yourself who you are. I am smart. I am beautiful. I am creative. I am intelligent. I am needed. I am loved. That's who you are. That's who you are inside. Don't let someone else's opinion of you determine how you feel about yourself. You just shouldn't do it. You are so much more than somebody trying to tear you down. Anytime you go somewhere or out in public, wherever you are, and it just bothers me. It just gets on my nerve when I just go somewhere and you hear the women, you be like, okay, I see this the kindergarten table over here, because you hadn't grown out of that yet. As a grown woman, you haven't decided that just a woman walking by who you obviously think has something on you, that you would try to put her down because of your insecurity, right? We want to move past that. This is about checking yourself. If you lived in the 90s, which most of us did, I think, there was a song that used to be check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? You can ruin lots and lots and lots of types of relationships because you don't see other people for who they are. You see them for who you want them to be. And who you want them to be includes that insecurity or that inadequacy within yourself, where you always want to put someone on a lower level than you. You don't have they don't feel good about themselves. That's right. That's right, Yvonne or Yvonne, whichever one. Let me know if I get it wrong. But the fact that you have a self-esteem issue, even though you might put the makeup on, you might wear the hair, you might have the nice clothes, the fancy shoes, none of that outer stuff determines who you are on the inside. The fact that you just can't pay your sister a compliment and mean it from the heart says there's something in you that you feel. No one else feels this way. You feel this way, that makes you feel inadequate and makes you have an insecurity about yourself, to the point where everyone you meet or every person you come across who you feel like, that's right, Yvonne, you have to love yourself, to the point where you feel like you have to put everyone under you because you want to always feel like you number one in that pecking order. That mentality is chicken mentality. We might as well call you a chicken head. Okay? But we don't want to be that. You don't have to stay that way. You don't have to be that way. All it takes is a little bit of soul searching. Search yourself. Search your heart. Look at yourself and say, what is it about me that makes me not want to compliment this woman? What is it about me that makes me want to look at this woman and put her down, even though I don't know her? It is a fact that we do that. You know, again, when we go back and we say, I can't get along with women. Well, what the problem is? Okay, why can you not get along with women? Have you tried and it just didn't work out? What kind of women are you trying to get along with? Guess what? Everybody not going to be a part of the sisterhood. Okay, some women just don't want to be a part of your sisterhood. It's just a fact. Okay, we're okay with that. That doesn't mean you still can't. Jealousy and insecurity. That's right, sis. You know, that doesn't mean you can't still compliment her anyway. You know, when she trying to put you down, girl, them shoes don't even match. Oh, girl, your hair look good today. You don't have to revert and lower yourself. You don't have to be the eagle and fly down to the chicken coop. Okay? You can stay an eagle and still be yourself and maintain your integrity and your dignity and your worth. You don't have to come down to her level, you know. Well, thank you. I appreciate the compliment, even though it wasn't, right? You don't allow someone's opinion of you determine what you think about yourself. That's a part of staying in our lanes. When someone does that, that's one of those undefined lines. You don't have to check everybody, but you have to check yourself. You know, when you have those boundaries that haven't been crossed, you don't necessarily have to check a stranger, okay? Because you can ignore them. They don't know you. And so what? You don't like my shoes. I didn't wear them for you, okay? So you don't have to establish that boundary for strangers unless they come into your personal space, okay? I always say you come in this distance right here, you came into my bubble, and now we got a problem. But if it's a sister, someone close to you, someone you're in a friendship, some type of relationship with, you want to make sure you establish that line and say, hey, you don't ever say anything kind to me. Or you don't ever say anything about me that makes me feel good about myself. But we have to listen to what people are saying to us and about us. And if we are in these groups, these chicken coops, if we're in these chicken coops where everybody's pecking on us, you know, trying to get us to feel bad about ourselves and put us back further and further in the pecking order, you want to look at yourself and say, are there any eagles out there? Because I need to fly this coop. Okay? So, excuse me, once again, I just had dinner. I apologize. But I want to remind you that as a sister, our job is to have these relationships where we are loyal and we have this unswerving allegiance to one another. Unswerving. That means we don't go this way. We don't go this way. We have this allegiance to you. We are trustworthy. We are dependable. Being dependable and honest so that people know K-N-O-W, that they can count on you. There's nothing more than someone knowing that they can count on you. Doesn't it feel good to know that you can count on somebody? And that somebody can count on you when you're in trouble? Isn't it good to know that you can call and say, you know what? I know this person has my back. I can go to them. It's important because we need that. We need that sisterhood. We need that fellowship. We need that bonding together. We need that solidarity that makes us women. We're special. We're special creatures. You know, we are needed in the earth, just like men are needed. But hey, we're needed. We need each other, okay? There's no need for us to peck and pick on one another. There's something great about all of us, okay? We all have something great within ourselves. If we can just look at our sisters, no matter what they look like, no matter what they act like, even if she was a woman of the night, you still can tell her how beautiful she is, how smart she is, how great. There's something about her you can tell her to encourage her. It might be just a little something she needs to say, you know what? I don't have to do this. I can do something else. You never know what your encouraging words would do to your sister. That's why it's so much easier. Just give a compliment. Tell your sister how beautiful she is. Tell your sister how smart she is. Tell her how much you love her. A compliment can save a life. You are so right. Very much so. Very right, Yvonne. It really can. You don't know what that person needs. It's easy to tear down. Let me say that. It's easy to tear someone else down because, one, you always want to keep someone under you when you have those insecurity. But it takes courage, it takes strength, and it takes integrity to be able to build someone else up. That means you're not concerned. It's not selfish to do that. That's a selfless act to look at someone and build them up with your words. Your words are powerful. Very powerful. Your words have power. So when you build your sister up with your words, back in the day they say sticks and stones may may break my bones, but words would never hurt me. I don't know who came up with that, but that's a lie. That is a lie. Words hurt bad. They cut deep and they are sharp. Okay, I'm running out of time here. Okay, so I should have stopped 15 minutes ago. But the point is, as sisters, we need to check ourselves. If we are incapable of complimenting our sisters or building them up and encouraging them, what is it about us? Where is our area of insecurity? Where is our area of inadequacy that causes us to tear our sisters down even when we don't know them? Words cut you down. You are absolutely right, Yvonne, to your soul. Words can scar you for life. Words. More so than somebody punching you upside the head. Now that hurts, but you'll forget about it if it doesn't leave a mark or a scar. But you may not forget. But the point is, words can cut you for life. And you can hold on to those cuts. They can stay open wounds for life. Words can do that. So use your words to build up your sister, to build a sisterhood. Stay out of the chicken coops. Fly with the eagles. Be at peace with the doves. Don't hang out with the chicken. the pigeons. Pigeons are a type of bird who fly. But we'll talk about pigeons on another, because I'm running out of time here. I'm trying to be respectful. So thanks again for joining me. I want you to know how special you are, how beautiful you are, how creative you are, how smart you are, how intelligent you are, how lovely you are, how kind you are, how needed you are. Did you know that you are needed? Oh yes, you are needed. I want you to know that I love you. I appreciate you. I thank you. You're beautiful. You're smart. That's why you have to think before you speak. That's right. Thinking before you speak, because words tear you down. It's so important to use your words to build up. Build your sisters up. Don't tear them down, because you never know what they're going through. You never know what heartaches they have. We need you to love one another. We need to love one another. It's so important that we bond, because we all have experiences that we have been through. We should share, that we can share conditions, all these things that can bond us together. Get rid of the phrase that says, what's that word? I can be friends, more friends. I can hang out better with guys than girls. Guys can only do so much for you, okay? Only so much. A smile can go a long way. That's right. A smile can go a very long way. I'm smiling at y'all. Thanks for hanging out with me. I appreciate you so much. Oh my goodness, I keep talking. But I love you so much, and I want the best for you. I honestly do. I want the best for you. There are so many other things I could talk about, but I have to let this go. But I really do want the best for you. I want you to want the best for yourself. I want you to know how beautiful you are. You are beautiful. There's something so beautiful about you that maybe you don't even realize. Maybe it's your smile. Maybe it's your eyes. Maybe it's your lips. Maybe it's the way you speak to other people. Maybe it's the way that you carry yourself. There's something so great about you that if you don't recognize it, I do. And I've never even met most of you, but there's something wonderful about you. And also, not just that you're beautiful, but you're smart. You're a thinker. You're creative. You know, thank you. I love you. Thank you so much, Yvonne. You're creative. You have thoughts and concepts that you haven't put on paper yet, but do it because you're creative. You're a creator. You're intelligent. You are kind. You're lovely. You are so needed. I want you to know how much you're needed. You are needed. So go out, encourage your sister tomorrow or tonight, whenever. Encourage your sister. Let her know how much you love her. Let her know how beautiful she is. Let her know how much she's needed. And we'll talk again tomorrow. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Check yourself before you wreck other people, okay? Get out the chicken coop and fly with the eagles. I love you. Have a good night.